As much as I love my motorcycles, there are times that I just want to take them all and set them on fire, just to watch them burn. Case in point, riding this yesterday. It's like the third ride on my KLR. Running along, just back roads, gravel, nothing serious, nothing too hard on the bike, and my speedometer quits. And I'm like, no big deal, probably just need a cable. So I come home, pull the cable loose from the wheel, put a drill on it. Speedometer works fine, so I was like, oh, I've got a problem in the speedometer drive. So I pull the front tire. Now when I take the drive off the wheel, parts of the hub are falling out of the floor. The section that comes off the hub that drives the speedometer gear has busted, just shattered off the hub. So then I go to look. That's going to be like $500 between a new hub and a speedometer drive, and it's like, I'm not paying it. I was like, I don't even know why this happened. I don't want it to happen again. So we're going to change it all up. So we've got a VaporTech, or a Trail Tech Vapor order. Going to replace this stock instrument cluster, because it had issues anyway with getting dust behind the lens, and I'm just not happy with it. And being the kind of guy I am, that just opens up all kinds of possibilities to change things on the bike while I'm working. Okay, looking at what broke here. This shiny area right around here, the inner shiny part right next to the bearing, is supposed to stick out. And it actually has a couple of notches in it to engage the speedometer drive. Well, that is that pile of stuff right there. Completely broke off. Now, I don't know if that broke first and then got into the drive gear there, or the drive gear locked up and sheared that off. Whichever way it happened, it's all broke. So, I'd have to have a new hub. Like I said, the hub's expensive. Used wheels are expensive. And since I don't know why it broke, I don't want to spend a lot of money putting it back together the same way. Now, that also means that you can't use your stock speedometer. So that, like I said, that's all going to go away and go with the Trail Tech Vapor. Now, what I did to fix this down on the wheel, I could have just stuck the factory part back on. But the grease seal here actually seals on that stuff there. So, didn't have a seal anymore. And if you look at the other side, this piece here is not actually a seal. It's just kind of a shield to go over the bearing. Fits in, just keeps the majority of the mud and dust and dirt away from it, and relies on the seal on the bearing for most of its seal. Some bikes use an actual seal like this on all the wheel bearings. Honda doesn't on this for some reason. So what I did is, fortunately I have a lathe, so I took and cut that apart. That's the speedometer drive. Took the steel center out of it, the steel spacer, and I turned an aluminum piece and pressed that spacer in the middle. So what this does is go back on like this, and it does the same thing as the other side. Just gives the bearing a shield to keep most of the mud away from it. And that takes the space of where that was. So then we get all that put back together. That's no problem. So we come up and we can take out the gauge assembly. But that also opens up the possibility that it's a dirt bike. It's got the factory turn signals on it. It's got a lot of stuff that I don't really need. Because in Missouri, you don't have to have turn signals. You can use hand signals, but if the turn signals are on there, they have to work. Well, the thing that kept me from taking the turn signals off is that right there. I'm OCD, and having a light on there that doesn't do anything would bother me. So, when that's gone, I'm going to take the turn signals off. They're big and floppy. They're in the way. This one here, you can see the mud on it. I dropped this on a creek bank the other day. Had to drag it down the hill. And this turn signal was literally up against this. It was bent so far back. So I can take these off up front. Probably put some auxiliary lights there. Be a good mount for them. And the switch, it's still got the switch here, but I'll use that possibly for the auxiliary lights. Also, you've got your neutral switch, which, once again, I mean, I guess it's kind of nice, but not necessary. So I'll probably take the wiring out for it, get rid of the switch down here, which is kind of in the way, covered by that sprocket cover. If I build a new sprocket cover, I won't have to worry about that wire. And when I take out the turn signals, I will completely bust into the wiring harness, and I will take every wire out, the flasher, everything will be gone. Because that's just how I am. I don't like having stuff that I don't need still on the bike. And get rid of the neutral switch. You got the high beam light. I won't have it anymore. I may put a blue LED right in there just to indicate which high beam's on. Not necessarily. Might do it. Depends on how bored I am. The only issue I see with the VaporTech is the coolant temperature sensor. It's one that fits in a hose. And see, I've already got the thermal bob. So I've got an extra splice in this hose, and you would need to splice into this hose here to put that inline tube. And from the pictures, it looks like the actual temperature sensor unscrews from the hose fitting. So there's a possibility I might be able to drill into the thermal bob and put it in there. That way I don't have an extra hose fitting. Or if the threads were right, I could put it in the top of the cylinder head where the factory temperature sensor is. That would be ideal, but who knows? I'll find out when it gets here, but I'll make it work one way or the other. But yeah, I'll start another video when I start tearing this apart and ripping everything out. The other thing I didn't like about the factory gauge, I don't know if you can tell it in the video, but there is dust on the inside of the lens. And I mean, the unit's not sealed apparently. And that's just going to get worse the more I ride it. And being OCD, it's going to drive me nuts. So we'll get rid of it. I got a Trailtech Vapor on my XR. It works great. So we're just going to swap it out. Gives me the opportunity to rip the bike apart again and take out a bunch of crap I don't need. Lots and lots of wiring. I'll have a whole pile of stuff by the time I'm done. Yep, check out the next video when I start ripping things apart. One last thing. Here's the final picture with the spacer in place. Looks okay. Does its job. Keep mud out. Takes up space.